Hello everyone, it's Limsy here and welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna paint some loose cherry blossom watercolor, which is one of my favorite subjects to paint, and somehow it has become my annual spring occasion. It looks daunting, but trust me, once you get the hang of it, you're gonna love painting cherry blossoms in no time. So let's get started. I get so many questions about supplies, so let's start by talking about our supplies first. I'm using this 300 GSM cold pressed paper from Arto by Campap. It's actually a local paper brand and you could get it from major local art stores in Malaysia. Affordable prices and pretty good quality for usual practices. So next, let's talk about paint. Here I'm using Holbein Artist Watercolor, which I absolutely adore. It's concentrated pigment, and with just a little bit of paint, you can mix out lots of gradient of the same color. So give it a try for Holbein, and you'll definitely love it. If you're curious about brushes, I always use pointed round brushes. They have a nice fine tip with a big belly, so you could go from small details to bigger expressive strokes. I'm usually using these round brushes, just differing in sizes. Here I'm using Princeton Heritage round brushes. They're made of synthetic sable, but they're really smooth when gliding them across the paper. I got them in size 2, 4, and 8 brush, which is all that we need today. And then we got a glass of clean water, some paper towel for blotting, and let's get started. So what I'm doing first is mixing up a nice rich light pink, like what I'm doing here. For this shade, I'm using straight from the tube, which is this really nice scarlet red. It looks pretty red here, but give it a good mix of water and paint and you will get a really warm diluted shade of pink. Moving on, we're also mixing out some burnt umber, which will be useful for the branches and stamens later on. Start from any point that is slightly off center on your paper, and we're gonna paint our first cherry blossom flower that is of a frontal view. Use the belly of the brush and drag it across the page, maybe once or twice in order to create petal shapes. And let's create about 5 petals coming together as a whole, and you got a flower. You can see that just using the belly of the brush, just pulling it back towards me or pushing it back away from me, and I create this really loose petals. It's alright to keep the flowers slightly open-ended at the tip, or if you feel like you just want to adjust the width or the size of the petals, please feel free to do so. And while it's still damp, I can touch up with more colors in the center with the flare of accent in the middle, and you're gonna have this beautiful gradient from red in the middle to this really nice light pink going out of the petals. So for the next flower, I'm gonna do this in a side view. You might want to do them in any direction or just next to the first flower, like what I'm doing here. So I'm gonna paint these 3 petals first, and once it is done, I will paint these 2 petals that is just right beside these 3 petals. And then once again, use a bit more of red to just add some of these touch-ups for the gradient inside the flower. You can also use the tip of the brush to refine the shape or add a little point on one end, but don't mess it about too much. Now that I'm happy with the main flowers, we're gonna move up and just build more flowers and buds on one branch. So you have to have a bit of imagination here. Let's imagine that this branch is growing upwards to the left and we're gonna build more flowers from here, but they're gonna be smaller as compared to the main flowers that we've done previously. So it's a lot of buds and some half open bud flowers from here. And once you have done with the buds and flowers, we're gonna just connect all of them with the branch. So just grab some burnt umber which you have mixed out previously and paint this connecting twigs and stems or branches together. If you feel like you just want to touch up anything, like I feel that I need another bud here at the tip, just feel free to do so. So it's always about adding and reducing. You just need to have to step back every time you paint a portion so that you can check if there's anything that you want to add or refine. Here I'm just doing another bud that is slightly opened, and it feels like the composition is more balanced now. So there are a lot of building ups and repeatings of buds and flowers from here, and just make sure that your bud or flower is unparalleled from one another. This is how we usually check in order to make sure that our organic shape is not too orderly and it looks natural. Once you're pretty much finished for this first stem, you can see if there's any detail that you want to add or refine. And next we're gonna move on to the stamen for the first flower. So the stamens are these little lines fanning out from the center, and I add these little dots to them so that it gives me a nice detail in the center, and that really brings the flower to life. And I'm just having fun, just dotting around and give it a bit more attention to detail to the center of the flower. You can also use the fine tip of your brush to add some of these lines on the petals, but this is optional. You can choose not to if you prefer more of the loose watercolor style. And then you can move on to the flower next to the main flower and just put some stamens at the side, just peeping out of the petal. I'm gonna move up and add more of these cute little stamens for some of my buds and these half-open flowers, or pretty much for the tiniest bud. I'm just gonna dot a little bit of browns at the tip. And moving on to the second branch, I'm gonna start with the flowers again, but I'm gonna start with the half-viewed flower, like the one that I did for the second flower. So it's gonna be a lot of adding of flowers and buds from here as well. But the second branch shouldn't look the same as the first branch. So we always have this saying about natural shapes is that they're supposed to look like sisters but not twins. And this is a good reminder for all of us when we're painting flowers especially. And if you're not sure where your branch is gonna head, you can finish 1 or 2 flowers first and then move on to the branch, and then from there you're gonna build more flowers and then move on. That's okay, because it's all about finding the direction along the way and just go with the flow. So that's the fun part of watercolor. So you can see from here, I've pretty much built up the main branch, and I'm gonna just move on to a third flower, and then from there, so on and so forth. If you're still a beginner, I understand that many of you, if you're still just starting this painting journey, it could look a bit daunting and lost of direction when it comes to placing your flower. But trust me, it's gonna take a lot of practice to understand where your instincts gonna lead you, and just put down your burden or stress. Just let your painting do the job, and you should enjoy the process and experience of finding this self-joy and inner exploration. I think that's the best part of watercolor. So here again, I'm connecting all my flowers and buds with a lot of sub-branches and connecting back to the main branch. And then again, I'll add some stamens here and there. And you can realize that after adding the stamens, your whole branch is gonna just come to life. Now that we're almost done with the upper part of your composition, we will now move down to the main branch. So the main branch is gonna be thicker And here I'm using the biggest brush size that I have, which is size 8, and I'll just grab and dab a lot of burnt umber with water and just glide my brush across the paper down to create this really thick but impressive branch. And from here, we're not gonna just leave the branch empty. It's still gonna be lots of flower building. So just add a flower or two and some buds at the bottom area here. But please take note that the main center of attention is still the upper part, so it's not gonna be too much of flowers going on down here. And on the other side, let's paint more flowers just to have a balance. It's gonna be just about 3 flowers here. 1 flower that is of a side view and 2 buds here. And then again, I'm gonna connect all the flowers and buds with a smaller sub branch. So always remember to step back and have a look of your entire composition and see if there's anything that you want to add. Like what I'm doing here is that I feel that the last branch is a bit short, so I'm just adding more buds and trying to elongate the branch. Last but not least, let's refine the details by adding a little bit more stamen, and your whole cherry blossom painting is gonna come to life. And again, remember to just kind of step back from the piece and ask yourself whether if this is okay, or how does the overall look like, or where do I need to add another flower, where can I tuck in another bud, or if there's any gap that you want to fill. Now that I'm all done, I'm happy with it. It is such a joy to paint cherry blossom, and I hope that you have joined me and painted along, because this is such a great practice. For floral shapes, it's okay if you're not too happy with your first attempt, because trust me, practice makes perfect, and there is no shortcut for painting flowers as well. I hope this is a great tutorial for you. Thank you so much for watching, and if you post it on social media, remember to hashtag Life with Limsey or Love Limsey so that I could check out your work. Remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel, or even leave a comment down below. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed the painting tutorial thoroughly. I will see you again. Be kind to one another. Bye bye.